My trajectory, well, mine is a very long one, but I'll be very quick. I always tell people because very, very quick, that I got convinced to get involved in politics without starting from where I was supposed to tell my story, by being convinced by the dean and the founder of Kellogg Graduate School in America, Dean Jacobs. He's late now. He took us on a long course called the World Economy in 2001. And while we were doing this course, he was teaching us world economy. After 3 months of his lecture, he never mentioned Africa. And I said, Dean Jacobs, you have never talked about Africa. He said, do I want to know about Africa? I said, yes. I paid $40,000 for this course, and you have never said anything about the continent that came from. He said, there's nothing called African economy. Nobody plans with Africa. Have I ever seen a car called African spec? There's Gulf spec, there's European spec, there's American spec, there's anything, so nobody plans with Africa. And the next day, that was a day before his last day in Kellogg. And I was pleased with you to allow me to finish this particular story. And he said to me, can you join me for lunch? And I joined him for lunch. Because he said there's nothing called African economy. If you have been in Kellogg's, it's on the bank of Lake Michigan. As we walked through the banks of the lake, he said to me, do you have any of your country's currency? You see it in my speeches everywhere. I said, yes. Then it was 100 naira, and he said, give me the 100 naira. And he brought $100. I said, which of these two currencies do you prefer? I said, the naira. The dollar. He said, why? I said, because it's 100 naira to $1. He said, keep my $100. I'll keep your 100 naira. He walked a little, we continued to walk. After something less than a pole, he said, Mr. Obi, can you tell me why you prefer dollar to your currency? And I told him the same thing, the rate. That is 100 naira to $1. So you give me 10,000 naira and you have only 100 naira. He said, sit down. So I sat down by the lake. He said, young man, the only reason why you prefer another country's currency to your currency is the amount of faith you have in your country. There's nothing called economy. Economy is driven by faith and hope. You don't have faith in your country is not giving you hope. I founded this school in 1957, and I've been teaching economics. Countries are driven when people have faith in their country and their leaders give them hope to stay. So you don't have hope, so you prefer another man's currency. And he went around to tell me that Chinese people keep their money in Chinese yuan, Malaysians in Malaysian ringgit, Singapore in Singaporean dollar. Then there was no euro. Germans in German marks, Italians in riyal, British in pounds. That is not the rate. It is the amount of hope you have. Can I ask you for a favor? We've been with you for months. About 3 months then. We've been with you for months. And this is the second time you're coming to Kellogg. And through interactions with you, you're in a wrong business. Are you what is the amount of money? I said, yes. Are you what? I said, yes. Of course, I have more money than that. I said, can I ask you for a favor? Can you go back to your country and participate in building public wealth? Public wealth enriches everybody. Individual wealth impoverishes everybody. You're pursuing individual wealth. Your country is not doing well. Your country needs you, not what you're doing now. Because now you're accumulating wealth for yourself. Go and help in accumulating public wealth. Serve the country, utilize your resources, build a better place for everybody to be rich. When few people are rich, you don't have a country. I came back here, schools were closed in my state for 1 year, children were not in school. I decided it's time for me to leave being chairman of a bank, sitting on that to go and contest. Until then, I never voted. I went home, packed my suitcase, went to Anambra State. That's how I started my politics. Never one day been a member of any party. But I left, went to my village and said, I want to be. I would have told you the other stories of what happened, how I went back to people and said, I want to be governor. And they said, you're not serious.
Well, we might get the chance. We might get a chance. Thank you so very much, sir. Honorable Bami, please.
Thank you very much.
One of the criticisms leveled against politics and politicians in our country is the lack of ideologies that can be pinned to a party's philosophy. People say that the parties are too fluid. The ideologies and the philosophies that govern how the parties operate, what they believe, whether economically or in terms of financial planning, regarding foreign policy, there's really no clear-cut agenda that people see in the way parties have been set up previously. Mr. Obi, in your mind, and they say also this is the reason why politicians move between parties so easily, because there's no gate that says, oh, I don't agree with this and fundamentally I cannot align with this, or fundamentally I align with this. Is an important question because as Christians, we have values and doctrines and ideals that we profess. In your mind, how is this shaping in Nigerian politics, and have you found any kind of clear-cut ideology among or between the parties?
Well, there's none. It doesn't exist. Maybe maybe it's somewhere, but I have not seen one. And that is why it is important from what he's saying that, and I say it every day, those who are in today should be outside. They're not competent. I'm very sorry. And I want you to judge using me. I'm involved. 70%, 75% of those who are in today should not have any reason to be near them.
Why?
I've said it before, and I've said it repeatedly, and I want it to be on tape. Politics in Nigeria is a case of where lunatics took over the asylum. They must be out. You must replace that asylum with people who are competent. This is the only country where the worst is leading. The best will lead. I've served there. I'm a trader. And I've started gradually and entered into politics. He was just telling you a story how he left the party. Impunity is telling you it's all over the place. It's not just in PDP. It's all over the place. He mentioned greed. People are not greedy here. They are sick. Because greedy is when you take more than you need. But when you take far more than you need, you are sick. How do you say that one person, how do you think about one person taking 80 billion? $200 million. That's sickness. It is not greed. The person is sick. Greed if he's taking 1 billion, which is not entitled to. But 80, sickness. That's the sick people. And as I said, mad people have taken over. I have served the states as governor. And I can tell you, there's no enough resources anywhere in the world. No country have enough resources. But they have enough resources to do what is meaningful. But what you see here is that somebody is a local government chairman, state governor, everything, and he stays for the number of years he will stay. All he's telling is giving people excuses and complaining. What he saw when he came in. What were you seeing when you were outside? You're a leader. You are there to solve problems, not to complain. We didn't elect you to complain or remind us what the previous person was doing. That was why we brought you. Is to solve the problem. And there is no ideology. Whatever I did as governor was what I thought that was good, reasonable, anything. I didn't say anything that the party was telling me to do. There's none. People have asked me this question. I said, okay, if there was an ideology in the party, the person who followed me, let's see how that ideology. So there's none. So nobody questioned him. If I save money, it didn't continue because it wasn't in the party manifesto. If I took school from number 26 to number 1, it wasn't there. It was me saying, this is the right, this is wrong. But if we get more and more people, young ones especially, who have the competence, the capacity to be there, they can start developing this thing. This is a transitional thing today. It's a business.
Thank you very much, Mr. Obi. Discussion has taken us into an interesting segue into other questions about the political systems that we run as a country. A question that we have here is about how we traditionally have been a multi-party system, operated a multi-party system, but have somehow always had a two-horse race in our electoral processes. First to Mr. Obi, and then I'd be interested to know what Honorable Bami thinks. But again, talking about pathways, what is the hope for, quote unquote, the third party that is so small, that doesn't have, quote unquote, the traction in what is supposed to be a multi-party system, but where we have two big dogs in a race? What's your view of this space?
Very simple. It's about the people. What if has in Nigeria, like I said, is that the people have allowed, like he says, some group of people to hijack their country. That's why I have said, take back your country. It's not theirs. You can't allow this gangsterism to continue. Because you have no country again. I can tell you this. What you're seeing today is like, if any of you have watched the Titanic, when it was going down, because the people playing music on top, they were busy dancing. That's where Nigeria is now. It's going down and people are busy dancing. Take it back. The people who determine whether it's going to be a 2-horse, a 3-horse, 5-horse race. Because they'll go with the right thing. When I became governor of Anambra State, I did not contest on the platform of the big parties. In fact, I started with PDP. And something went wrong, and I said, no, I'm not going to be part of these people. I went into a small party, an unknown party. We were just starting APGA then. I joined APGA. 6 months, I was elected governor. I went to the people. Then everybody told me like they're saying today, you have no structure, you have no this, you have no that. I said, listen, this structure is the people. Let the people vote for me. I was elected governor in Anambra State. There was no single House member in my party. No House of Rep member in my party. No senator in my party. No local government chairman in my party. And I delivered that state. By the time I left that state, no state in Nigeria is more financially stable than that state. We were not owing anybody any gratuity, pension, anything, or contract. The people will decide what they want. Not anybody. If they choose today that I want to go with young principal, they will go with it. What we are saying is, this is time to decide who will lead. This is time to scrutinize. Luckily, this is going to take 8 months. Let people come and tell us where they started, what they are doing. Let's know who they are. Let's come on the story of this. And let nobody do not allow anybody. I said it this morning where I was talking in an event. This is time for everybody to come on the stage and tell us what you want to do. We want to hear it. We don't want you to show us glossy papers, no typing, no paper. Tell us with your mouth so we can document it.
Thank you very much.
This is what we want to do now.
Thank you very much.
So the people will decide. If they want this thing to end, we have had 2 horse races for 24 years. In 24 years, we produced, when they started, we have less than 60 million people living under poverty. Today we have 120. So all they've doubled is more people living in poverty. So it is a choice whether we want the next few years to have 180 people living under poverty, or do we want to start reducing it now?
Thank you very
People will
much.
decide.
Thank you. Mr. Obi, you are not a man, you're not a man who's, if you like, who's been devoid of plenty of political opposition. Just looking at your Wikipedia page, we can see a number of times you've been impeached and the people coming after you, and then you have to, and then the court comes in, and then you go out and you come in again. We've heard you speak about this subject matter. I would like you to touch on this very specifically. When there are conflicts of interest like this, do you abandon ship? Young Christians want to know. If somebody says you need to give us a piece of this, what you're generating for the people in order to remain in office to do a good work, what do we do?
There's no conflict. If you know what you've promised the people and you're determined to do, you do it. There's no conflict. Anybody who tells you about conflict is just telling you nonsense. If you promise the people, I've been in position, and I said publicly, I've been in position where I come to Abuja very often, and I'm told to my face by the authorities, your people are not happy with you. And this is coming from the number 1, number 2 people in the country. And I said to them, well, I never promised anybody happiness. Go and look at my promises. I promised to fix school. I promised to do rural roads. I promised to do health, and I'm doing them. If anybody wants happiness, you go to the comedians and everybody. I'm not part of that. I never promised happiness. And that's it. There's no conflict between. I was impeached. When I was impeached, my first impeachment was 3 items. 3. Number 1 item is that when I became governor, the office of the governor was burnt. During my predecessor's time, the lodge where the governor lived was burnt. So, in the budget that I met, there's 298 million naira to repair the office of the governor. And it's already been given to somebody. But when I came in, I saw that the office of the governor was consuming almost 30% of our budget. And I said, what is the education get? By the time we rearranged our budget to be able to achieve our vision that we've chosen then, the only thing that the office of the governor can get about 5%. So there was need to reduce all avenues. So I said, please, we are going to do this by direct labor. It was approved budget of 298 million. Everything I spent was 43,200,000. And because we didn't have the money, and I bought everything new except table. Because there was a table used by one of previous governor that was there. And they said, no, it's old. I said, table is table. Bring a table, yeah. We don't need to buy new table because it's table. It's just table to write. It doesn't matter. Then to refurbish the office of the governor, where the governor lived, was 486 million budget. Everything cost us 81 million. Because they were trying to buy bed from Dubai, this from that, anything. It's okay. There must be somebody who can do bed. Yeah, bed is bed. There's no difference between two beds. It's just to sleep. Even if they buy gold bed, if you have reason to be awake, you'll be awake. If they give you this one, people can sleep here and wake up. So let's buy bed in Oka. And we bought bed in Oka. But what did they do? That was number 2 item. Number 3 item was I was saving money. From day one, I said we must save at least 5% of our revenue. So we have to do this. So it became a quarrel. But when I said conflict, when impeachment started, it got to a stage where prominent Anambra people negotiated for me to give them money in order to stop. I said, no, I cannot do what I'm going to regret here. And we're not going to change it. We shut down. I was the only governor who didn't have a lodge in Abuja. I said, my predecessor bought that house for 1 billion naira. And I shut it down. I said, listen, governor of Anambra said doesn't live in Abuja. I have no reason to have a house in Abuja. We only use it to collect letter. They can deposit our letter anywhere. We'll go and collect it. Because we don't have the money. Not because of anything. Some other states have money. They can keep it. But we didn't have the money. We shut down the presidential lodge. For example, every state have presidential lodge. We had it. But it was costing us money. We shut it down. When Obasanjo wanted to come, he insisted he must sleep in Anambra State for 3 days. And I went to him and said, Mr. President, you don't need to sleep in Anambra State. You can come in the morning and go in the evening. But if he insists, because he wanted to, he's close to pastor's father, and he said, I want to see pastor's father. He's my friend. I said, you know what? We won't quarrel. I have my lodge where I live with my bed and everything. I'm going to give it to you for 1 month. When you go, I come back. And that was where he said, I gave it to his people, packed my things and left the lodge for 2 weeks. They went, they finished. I came back because I didn't have money to keep presidential lodge in Oka. So there's no conflict. We needed money for school. We needed money to fix school, to do this, and we needed to do it. There was no conflict at all. We focused on what we promised the people, and we delivered it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. There are a number of questions.
Because I want our people to determine my fate, and not just 1 or 2, 3 individuals.
Thank
and
you.
this is what we keep saying. The youth must be inspired. It is your time. The future is yours. The destiny is in your hands. And life in itself will never give you what you expect of it, but what you demand of it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Obi, I'd like you to fill this question, but there's an angle to it which has come up a few times. People are talking about how to mobilize these people that you've been talking about. Many are in the villages, and many are, some, like Honorable Bami has said, have PVCs but do not come out to vote. Others are not as informed as they would like to be. Lots are undecided because they are not convinced about the fray. They don't know where to fit in. In terms of reaching the youth and reaching people, what are your thoughts about how the church can mobilize young people?
Well, it's a very simple thing. That's what we're doing here. The church have to know that we've passed the time of praying. It's not going to be solved by praying alone. It has to be solved by acting. If you like, pray with discipline for the rest of your life. They'll never go away. You must chase them away. So they are not people you remove by prayers. So it is time to act, not to pray. The youth, unfortunately, for we the leaders, what you're seeing today, the banditry you're seeing today was created by us. Because it is the people we didn't educate yesterday that is now chasing us out of our houses. Today you have a demography you're talking because they're not productive. That is why your country is collapsing. A huge country like Nigeria, with 926,000 square kilometers of land, 200 million people, our total export last year was under $30 billion, including the oil we are sharing every day. And because you are not investing in your engine of growth, which is the youth. Another country, Vietnam, with 331,000 square kilometers, a third of your size, half of your population, 100 million, exported 313 billion exports. You couldn't make 10% of that. And what did they export? It's not oil. It was manufactured goods. Electronics, 60 billion. Clothing, 32 billion. Shoes, footwear, 23 billion. They exported more footwear than we got from oil. And we are sharing oil. Put money in this. We have youths that have talent, energy, willing that can change the world. All they need is leadership to invest in them. It is time for them to take back their country and chase all of us out. If they do that, so what Pastor is doing today is what the churches need to do. You know how Marcos left office in Philippines? Marcos left office because on a Sunday, Cardinal Sin finished church service. Instead of saying, the mass is landed, let's go, he told everybody today, follow me and block the presidential lodge. After 3 days, Marcos and his wife left. It is time for us to close the church and deal with discipline.
Thank you very much. I think some pastors have comments. Some pastors have comments. Brings us into, and we spoke about this earlier, but in a different guise, the question of corruption. Again, I mean, you are full of anecdotes. Is there a story of corruption? If you are not Peter Obi, if you are not a man who's taking on these systems and who's at the grassroots level, what can the average young politician, male, female, do in order to beat this system?
Taking it in two ways. I've always said to young people, do not take to politics as a profession. Please. It shouldn't be, because you won't give the best of your service. Like he says, if you're going to do that, get involved at the party level. Or you're doing something, find yourself, because I've had people who started their life, essay, this, that. This thing is that you're not going to retire with it. And you're not going to create a fortune with it unless you steal. So, start doing something, participate in various ways. Like it says, you can be a member, you can be in administration, you can be in anything. You can be a member of party, participating in party affairs while you're doing your business. I've been a member of party. Even outside this country, when I lived in England, I was on Conservative African Committee. We just put small money. I face my business. You can do that. But ensure that the right persons are in office. The reason why it's become polluted and corrupt and everything is what I said earlier. Because bandits have taken it over. So they have to create an obstacle for entry. Because they want to keep doing the same thing. So they now tell you, for example, you want to be House member, at that level, you pay 5 million. Tell me, you want to be local government chairman, maybe it's 10 million. Governor is 25 million. Of course, president has risen to 100 million. So you could see where we are. In a country with a per capita income of $2,000, people are paying 100 million to run for office. But in America, where we learned it from, with a per capita of $75,000, almost $70,000, you don't pay $5,000 to run for office. But here, 100 million is $200,000. So they've raised the bar of entry because it's become a criminal organization. You can stop that by electing good people. When they come in, they will lower that entry. They will stop it because it's wrong. It shouldn't be. In a country where you're paying lecturers, professor in a university is earning 400,000 naira, $1,000. You're asking somebody to contest for governor with $200,000. That means no professor can ever. Ask even all of us who are paying it to bring our tax clearance, so we'll show where we earn such money that we are using to pay for that. So you have allowed, that system has been criminalized. And you must deal with it by voting the right candidates and asking them even, what will you do when you enter about these fees? This is time to answer it. So you take note. Peter Obi said when he becomes this, he will remove all those charges. You take note. If it doesn't, when he goes in, you insist. It is for the people to say no to those of us in office. What we do is that we are celebrating the same criminality. Look at what Senator did today. He came in here, he apologized because he knew he was late. There was a time fixed for this thing, 5 o'clock. I have been in office as governor. You come to a church, thank God some Anambra people are here. And people will tell you, you are late. And people will say, come in front. Let come and stay at the back. That's where you stay. That's why you have been governor. And you're telling them, no. I was at church this morning with my friend. We came late. And somebody said, no, we have a seat for you in front. I said, listen, let come stay at the back. That's where they're meant to stay. Irrespective of who you are. You have to stop celebrating what is wrong. That is why impunity is continuing, because impunity has become a measure of success and power in Nigeria. So you can stop all these things. And I talk about general corruption. Let nobody tell you can't stop corruption. If you're not stealing yourself, your wife and children are not stealing, those around you are not stealing, you reduce it by 70%. Because as governor, you will approve what they will steal. So when you approve to take your own, everybody will start adding his own. But if you're not taking, nobody will add. Go to me anywhere. I've been governor for 8 years. And they will tell you, go and show me where anybody added his own in Anambra State. Because I have to take first now. Before you take. So if the leader is not taking, I'm not a center. If I'm not taking, you can't take. So I have to start. There's so many offices that we need to, you can abolish that leads to corruption. And when you abolish them, it will not happen. Same thing in the party and what they are doing. And my friend in the Young Democratic Party and Young Progressive Party, which I'm encouraged with what they're saying, and let them continue in that direction. Let young people get involved. And your getting involved is to challenge this rascality, challenge this corruption, not for you to come in and become part of it. When you become part of it, you're hurting yourself. Because most of the people who are at this stage, none of you today knows that your country is borrowing money that is not payable until 2050, 2055, when all of us will not be there. Go and check the bonds we are issuing, Euro bonds we are issuing today. Senator knows when they approve it, it's 2055. Soon we'll start borrowing 2060. And we won't be there when it matures. We will have all gone. And we are not putting anything in the sinking fund to pay it. Because if you have a sinking fund, you're servicing it, you're saving. So start questioning your local government chairman. Start questioning your governor. This is time to remove all those appendages. His Excellency, Honorable, Dishonorable. Let's bring them to their name. So until when they end it, we call them.
Thank you very much. Thank you so very much. Mr. Obi, is there a timeline in your mind that infrastructure in this country can sort of begin to stand up again?
Well, you know, for me, we're looking at infrastructure as the physical infrastructure. The biggest infrastructure this country is lacking is the human infrastructure. You cannot deal with the physical infrastructure if you have not dealt with the human infrastructure. The human capital development in Nigeria is number 152 out of 158. So unless you fix the human infrastructure, you're wasting your time dealing with the physical infrastructure. And so you must invest in education. Education is critical. Unless you deal with education. So you have millions of people who are not educated. And I'll give you an example. The average global intake of higher education, global, is 38. In developed world, is 52. In Nigeria, it's 9%. And your universities are closed for 4 years. Unacceptable. So you must deal with that building, because you need the human infrastructure. It is the human beings that you educated in school that can deal with the bridges, deal with the roads, deal with the construction. Look at Chinese people coming to do just our airport. Hey, wait a minute. What are you doing? We are not going to hospitals in Egypt. People are going to school in Ghana. In fact, I met 2 students the other day who told me they're just coming back from Sudan. They just graduated. Wait a minute. What are you doing to this country? You need to invest in education, education, education. When you finish that, you deal with the critical areas of development. Nigeria was able to generate over 1,000 megawatts of electricity in the 60s. In fact, the first money we borrowed as a country was in 1964 September, when Tafa Balewa wrote the World Bank to borrow $82 million to build the Kainji Dam. So you were able to generate over 1,000 megawatts of electricity in the 60s. Almost 60 years after, you cannot generate 4,000. It's unacceptable. I just went to Egypt. They're doing 58,000. 100 million people. And they only added 30,000 in the last 5 years. All the people I met in the power plants and everything were engineers, Egyptians, trained in universities in Egypt. When I went to the ministries, they are the same thing. They were all educated in Egypt. This is not an African country. So you need to invest in your people in education. I visited all the states of Nigeria. There's no production because you have not invested in the people. Niger State, 76.3 square kilometers of land. They can't feed themselves. They can't feed Nigeria. Netherlands is 33,000 square meters. 33,000 square kilometers. They exported last year 120 billion worth of agriculture. A state twice their size, 2.5 times their size, and their winter cannot feed themselves. You have not invested in the human being. You need to do that investment. Taraba, 54.6 thousand square kilometers of land with Mambila Plaza, where you can do coffee, tea, and flour. Kenya exported 600 million worth of flour. Those who pick flour in Kenya are paid $100. Ethiopia exported coffee, $1.1 billion. You can grow it there. Sierra Leone, with all their problems, 1.4 billion coffee, you can grow it there. Taraba cannot feed itself. They are waiting to share money from oil. What a country. You need to move this country from consumption to production. And it can be done. We cannot continue this way. So, for me, it is a different trajectory. That's why we need people like him who are in finance. I'm a trader. What I want to do is to see a country that is producing goods and exporting, and young people are using their talent and energy and everything. Let me tell you why I said human. Do you know that if you're a young man carrying computer in this country, you're a criminal? Countries are giving their young people computer. If you carry a laptop, you're a criminal because you have not educated the country. We need to use our knowledge. It is a knowledge economy that you see today. Nigeria is still dealing with baggage economy. That's why every day they're looking for what to share, share. I want to remove sharing formula with production formula. That's what we want to do.
Can this be done in a 4-year tenure?
Who says so? You can start. If people are sure, if you say you're moving from here to Akwa Ibom like he wants to do, once people are sure we're on road to Akwa Ibom, they'll have patience. What is happening here is that somebody says we are going to Akwa Ibom, the car is going to Zaria. No, we want to be on the road to where we want to go to. We have patience. That's all. We're not talking about this.
Mr. Peter Obi, you have a few thoughts on this question, the subject.
To it by saying, for me, everything starts with leadership. In those places where we have proper structure and proper planning, they had visionary leaders who thought of it and then followed it religiously. But where I want to make comment is where you talk about religions, divide, ethnicity. These are ideas, concepts brought in by this gang to make sure that people don't do the right thing. Let me ask you a question. Show me where, because this man belongs to this, show me a good road that Muslims use so I can go and use it. Show me where bread is cheaper because Christians live there. Our president is from Katsina. Is it Dubai? No. I'm from Anambra State. Is it Dubai? No. So, show me where poor people have suddenly become rich because they belong to a particular religion. There's more poor people in the north, where Muslims are. There's huge number of them in the south, where Christians are. And I've never seen where they're selling bread cheaper because this is this. Poor people all over Nigeria are suffering. We, the politicians, in order to continue our activity, when it comes to election, oh, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian. In 4 years, 8 years, what did you do for Christians that made it different to show they should continue with Christians? We're looking to visionary leaders who can. If there's power in this country, power does not know who is Muslim or who is Christian. Everybody in this country knows how much we generate. This is the only country you know that. In other countries, you just put your switch on and off. Here, we know about national grid, national this, national everything. I've never been to any other country, and they are talking like this. All you need is switch your light. Ask people who live in England, ask Pastor whether he knows how much they generate in England. He doesn't know. He doesn't know about national grid. He doesn't know about transmission line or this. Everything in Nigeria, you know all of them because it's not working. So we want somebody to generate power. Let him go and generate it for Muslims. We'll go there and live. Let him do the roads for Muslims. We'll drive past it. Let him build the bridges, build the schools for Muslims. Nigerians, I met Nigerian students in Egypt. They were Christians, but they went to Muslim country to read. So let's have functional universities for Muslims in the north. We'll go there and go to school. Because they'll teach engineering, law, everything. We'll read it and continue. Or show me where the Christian ones are. So let's forget about religion. We have issue with the country. The issue is fundamental. We need competent leaders who have the capacity to drive this process. What you have here is that we have people who have since passed their destination. So they are dragging us back. We want power to go to these young people who knew where they are going so they can get to their destination. Not have all this where you have drivers who are trained to drive old vehicles finding themselves in a Formula 1 competition. They're going to crash the car. That's what you're doing now.
While you're still holding the mic, because we're rounding up now, there's a question that's come up about correlations being drawn between you and the late, great Alex Ekwueme. Besides being both Igbo, are there any similarities in your perspectives of politics and of the world? Is there anything that you sort of fashion your work around?
Well, I can tell you, one thing I know is that, like me, people were not happy with him. Because he insists on doing the right things. You cannot meet him. One is a man of very high, I think, like I said, you can't come. I don't see people who are as intellectual as he is. He knows everything. And he listens. So like I said, he's not somebody who convinces you. You must come with a superior reasoning. And so they're not happy. People like here, of course, it's not like me. It's not in share money. And so don't say when you say I'm stingy. Maybe these are things that we have similarities with. I don't see him sharing money to anybody. He only spends money for need. So he's educated so many people because he saw the reason. I was growing up and hearing scholarship from Ekwueme. So he was paying people school fees, educating them, sending them abroad to read. Not to, and I grew up and I went to his house. He didn't have a big house. He didn't have big cars. He didn't have, so I was wondering, why is this man treating himself like this? So with time, I found myself doing the same thing. And I said, oh, you know, maybe it's not somebody you see. So the similarities is that he was a man who believed in tomorrow and was building tomorrow. And such a person, this is what we need in this country. People who believe that you have to do the right things, the right values, the right this, and structured self and everything. And may God give us opportunity to have men like that, so we can start driving this future. Otherwise, I can assure you, this place will collapse, and we'll all become refugees. So as I conclude, take back your country.
On that note,